The Riverside Country Club sat nestled on the outskirts of a bustling Midwestern suburb, its manicured lawns and sparkling fountain a testament to old money elegance. It was the kind of place where families like mine gathered for Sunday brunches, pretending everything was picture perfect under the chandeliers. But today, the air felt thicker than usual, charged with unspoken tensions that had been simmering for years. My brother Marcus had orchestrated this gathering, as he often did. At 52, he was the golden child in our family, successful real estate developer, doting father to Jennifer, and perpetual showman. He'd insisted we toast Jennifer's latest triumph, her promotion to CEO of a regional marketing firm based in Chicago. At just 28, she'd climbed the corporate ladder with the speed of a rocket, and Marcus never missed an opportunity to broadcast it. Family milestone, he texted the group chat. Be there or be square. I arrived early, claiming a table by the window overlooking the golf course. The club was abuzz with the usual crowd, retired executives in polo shirts, young professionals nursing mimosas, and the occasional family like ours, dressed in their Sunday best. I smoothed my simple blouse and slacks, glancing at my reflection in the silverware. At 50, I looked every bit the unassuming single mom I'd cultivated as my public image. No one here suspected otherwise. My daughter Sophie pulled up in her beat-up Toyota, still wearing her green grocery store apron over jeans. She'd worked a double shift at the local Kroger yesterday and had another lined up tonight. At 26, she was my pride and joy, but the dark circles under her eyes told a story of quiet struggle. She slid into the seat beside me, offering a tired smile. Hey, Mom, sorry I'm late. The morning rush was brutal. Spilled milk everywhere, literally. I squeezed her hand under the table. No apologies needed, sweetheart. You look like you could use some coffee. Before she could respond, my father, Grandpa to the kids, but always, Dad, to me, made his entrance. At 78, he still carried himself like the department store manager he'd been in his prime, back when Sears was king. He spotted Jennifer arriving in her sleek BMW and boomed across the dining room, "There's my successful granddaughter. CEO at 28. I always knew you'd make something of yourself, Jenny." He stood to embrace her, his voice echoing off the paneled walls. Jennifer beamed, her designer suit impeccable, hair in a perfect chignon. Marcus clapped her on the back, his Rolex glinting under the lights. "That's my girl, regional powerhouse now. Next stop, national." Sophie shifted uncomfortably, tugging at her uniform. Marcus glanced her way, his expression shifting to thinly veiled disdain. "Still slinging groceries, Soph? Thought you'd have moved on by now." "It pays the bills," Sophie replied evenly, her voice steady despite the jab. She was good at that, keeping her cool under fire. Dad leaned back in his chair, swirling his scotch on the rocks. "When I was your age, I was already managing a whole department at the store. Your cousin here's running a company. What's your excuse, kiddo?" My jaw tightened, but I kept my face neutral. This wasn't new. Dad had been comparing the grandkids since they were in diapers. Sophie had heard variations of this lecture 100 times, about ambition, about making something of yourself. I watched her force a smile. "I'm working on things, Grandpa. Working on things," Dad repeated with a dismissive chuckle that grated like nails on a chalkboard. Jennifer was working on things too, but she actually achieved them. "Big difference between dreaming and doing, sweetheart." The waiter appeared then, notepad in hand. Dad ordered the prime rib, medium rare, no regard for the $65 price tag. Marcus went for the main lobster tail, adding extra butter. Jennifer opted for a salmon salad. Sophie, glancing at the menu, murmured, "Just the tomato bisque for me, please." Dad raised his bushy eyebrows. "I'm footing the bill today, kid. Live a little." "I ate before my shift," Sophie lied smoothly. I knew better. When I'd stopped by her apartment Thursday, her fridge had been barren, a half-empty milk carton and some wilted lettuce. She was stretching her budget thin, eating once a day to make ends meet. And part of that was my fault. She'd been slipping me cash to help with rent, after I'd told the family I'd lost my big consulting contract 6 months back. Little did they know, that loss was a deliberate pivot. As the orders were taken, Dad launched into his favorite topic, Jennifer's accolades. Corner office with a view of Lake Michigan, company Mercedes, speaking gigs at industry conferences. And the salary, 6 figures base, plus bonuses that could buy a small house. Marcus nodded enthusiastically. She's killing it. What about you, Sophie? What's the hourly at the store these days? Sophie's cheeks flushed pink. $12 an hour, Uncle Marcus. Dad snorted. $12? At 26? When are you getting serious about life? Your cousin's a CEO, for crying out loud, while you're scanning bananas and bagging bread. That's not a future, that's just treading water in the kiddie pool. Dad, that's enough. I interjected quietly, my voice calm but edged with steel. I'm making a point, Sarah, he shot back. The girl needs motivation. A little tough love never hurt anyone. Sophie's eyes glistened, a tear threatening to escape. She blinked hard, reaching for her water glass with a trembling hand. My heart ached for her, the way she internalized these barbs, letting them chip away at her confidence. Enough was enough. I pulled out my phone, opening my banking app with deliberate slowness. The timing couldn't have been more poetic. Interesting timing, Dad, I said, my tone even. That retirement fund you asked me to manage last year, I transferred it all back to your account this morning. Every penny. His confusion was palpable, brows knitting together. Why? You've been getting me excellent returns, up 32% last I checked. What's the catch? No catch. I'm closing my client list, focusing on other ventures. I swiped to another screen, pulling up a digital document. Also, that country club membership you've enjoyed for 15 years. Take a look at the owner's name on the deed. I turned the phone toward him, zooming in on the property records. Dad squinted, his face paling as recognition dawned. That's your name, Sarah Thompson. Yes, I confirmed. I purchased Riverside Country Club 8 months ago. Private sale through a holding company. The club, the 18-hole golf course, the tennis courts, the restaurant, all of it. It's been a solid investment, appreciating nicely with the local real estate boom. The table fell into stunned silence. Silverware clinked from nearby tables, but ours was a vacuum. Marcus stared, mouth agape. You bought this entire country club? The whole shebang? I nodded, locked it in before the market heated up. The previous owners were retiring to Florida, perfect opportunity. Dad set down his glass with a thud. But you said you were struggling. Lost that consulting gig, driving that rusty Honda Accord like it's your only wheels. I did lose the contract, I admitted. It freed up my time for bigger plays. Consulting was never my main hustle. It was a side gig to keep appearances modest. Sophie's eyes were wide, the tear forgotten. Other investments? Mom, what else? I smiled faintly. The country club is one of 5 properties in my portfolio. I've got commercial real estate downtown, a strip mall and an office building leased to tech startups. Plus, a venture capital fund specializing in women-owned businesses. High growth potential in e-commerce and sustainable tech. Marcus recovered first, leaning forward. Hold up, you're telling me you're some kind of secret tycoon? But you live in that tiny apartment complex off Main Street. I own the apartment complex, I corrected. The whole block, actually. Bought it distressed during the last recession, renovated it unit by unit. My tiny apartment is the penthouse, modest on the outside, but it's home. Jennifer let out a low whistle. Good for you, Aunt Sarah. That's Bala. Dad's face cycled through shades, pale shock to flushed embarrassment. You let me think you were barely scraping by. All those times I lectured you on budgeting. You assumed I was struggling, I pointed out gently but firmly. I never said it outright. You saw the old car, the simple clothes, and filled in the blanks. Assumptions can be dangerous, Dad. The waiter returned with our meals, steam rising from the plates. Dad stared at his prime rib like it had offended him. I cut into my grilled salmon, savoring the moment. Starting tomorrow, I'm rolling out some changes here at the club. Restructuring membership tiers to make it more inclusive. Lower fees for young professionals, community outreach programs. And we're nixing legacy membership transfers. Each generation applies fresh. Dad's fork paused mid-air. That policy's been around since the 80s. It's tradition. Tradition that bred exclusivity. I counted. The board, my board, voted unanimously last week. We're opening doors, not slamming them. Sophie hadn't touched her soup, still processing. I nudged her bowl closer. Eat up, Hon. It'll get cold. She picked up her spoon mechanically, eyes darting between me and the others. Mom, you've been a mogul this whole time. Not a mogul, I chuckled. Just strategic. And Sophie's been helping me more than she knows, researching investments, reviewing proposals on her weekends. I thought it was volunteer work, but she's got killer instincts for spotting winners. That was the truth. Sophie had pored over business plans, thinking she was just helping her, struggling, Mom. I'd funneled her, consulting fees, into a Roth IRA in her name, watching it grow. Marcus poked at his lobster, appetite vanished. Secret millionaire, explains why you never asked for handouts. Modest, not secret, I clarified. There's a difference. Flashy isn't my style. I like my Honda because it's reliable, not because it screams success. This place is gorgeous, but I don't need weekly brunches here to prove I belong. Jennifer pushed her salad aside. Half the stress of my job is the optics, the luxury car, the power suits. It's exhausting keeping up. Then don't, I advised. You're the CEO. Redefine what that looks like. Boards care about bottom lines, not hemlines. I turned back to Dad, who had gone uncharacteristically quiet. That's the crux, isn't it? Actual success versus the performance of it. One's built on substance, the other's just smoke and mirrors. Sophie finally spoke, her voice soft but gaining strength. You've been supporting me all along, haven't you? Those scholarship refunds that showed up in my account. You earned them through your research, I said. I formalized the payments quietly. You were killing yourself with doubles to help me. I wasn't letting that slide. But I wanted to help, she protested, eyes shining. You did. You are, just not how you thought. I squeezed her hand. And about that cashier job, you were there at my request. Field research on retail ops, inventory glitches, customer flow, employee morale. Your notes on inefficiencies. Gold. I've consulted for 3 national chains using your data. Walmart competitors, optimizing supply chains. Sophie blinked. I thought I was just venting in my notes app.
Constructivating, I amended. With data-backed solutions. That's analyst work, not cashier drudgery. Dad cleared his throat, color returning to his cheeks. You humiliated me in front of the family, Sarah. No, Dad, I replied steadily. You did that by using Sophie as a punching bag to prop up your ego. Ranking us by titles and paychecks? I just set the record straight. I was motivating her, he grumbled. You were shaming her. Big difference. My tone stayed firm. Sophie's hardworking, smart, compassionate. Choosing to help her mom over chasing promotions doesn't diminish her, it elevates her. Jennifer nodded, a thoughtful look crossing her face. Truth. I've got the title, but some days it feels hollow. Marcus shifted, uncomfortable. So, what now? You gonna lord this over us forever? Lording? No, I said. I'll keep living my way, investing, supporting. But the commentary on our failures stops. And my quiet financial help? It continues only where there's respect. Dad's eyes narrowed. Financial help? Did you think that Alaskan cruise last year was all from your pension? Or Marcus's house down payment from his commissions? I kept it neutral. I've helped anonymously for years, through trusts, grants. To support, not control. The implication landed like a lead weight. Leverage, unintended but real. Sophie stood suddenly, chair scraping. For a split second, I feared she was bolting. Instead, she rounded the table and enveloped me in a fierce hug. Thank you, she whispered. Not just for the money, for believing in me. Always, kiddo, I murmured, hugging back. Tears pricked my eyes, the first crack in my composure. She returned to her seat, posture transformed. The weary cashier was gone. In her place, a young woman reclaiming her narrative. Dad pushed his plate away, barely touched. I suppose you think you've won some moral victory. Not winning, Dad. Clarifying. I finished my salmon. You've judged us by surface stuff, cars, jobs, missing the heart of it. Success isn't a title, it's character. Sophie could be a CEO and miserable, or a cashier and content. The label doesn't define worth. Easy philosophy when you're loaded, he muttered. Wealth reveals character, doesn't change it. I met his gaze. I was loaded during your lectures on frugality. Difference now? You know. And that shifts your view, which says volumes about your metrics. Silence blanketed the table again. Around us, other brunches buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, oblivious to our family implosion. Sophie's phone pinged. She glanced down, eyes widening. Mom, this job posting you forwarded. The pay's insane. More than my last 2 years combined, plus equity. I smiled. Venture funds partnering with a startup accelerator in Silicon Valley's Midwest hub. They're hunting for a manager in retail and consumer services. Full-time, benefits, stock options. Are you offering it to me? She asked, hope flickering. Telling you about it. Apply if it sparks you. Your research makes you a shoe-in, even without the family tie. But no business degree, she hedged. Half my funded founders lack one. You've got boots on ground experience, valuable in boardrooms chasing trends. Dad stood stiffly, wallet out. I'll cover the check. Already handled, I said. Perk of ownership. He nodded curtly, shuffling toward the exit. Marcus followed, mumbling goodbyes. Jennifer lingered, smirking. That was epic, Aunt Sarah. Family lore forever. Didn't plan the drama, I confessed. Timing was chef's kiss. She raised her glass. To the queen of the long con. Sophie clinked. To real success, not the facade. I joined, a weightlifting. The secret veil torn, I felt authentic, unburdened. So, Sophie said, scrolling the posting. Spill on this VC gig. Well, I began, it starts with spotting diamonds in the rough, not the shiniest, but the sturdiest. As we dove in, the club manager approached, tablet ready. Ms. Thompson, quick sign off on the renovation budget? We're eyeing eco-friendly turf for the course. I reviewed, signing digitally. Sophie watched, awestruck. How'd I miss this? I hit it. To let you forge your path sans pressure or perks. I paused, but shielding you exposed you to judgments. Lesson learned. I'm glad now, she affirmed. And I'm applying. Smart move. Director's gain. I tipped the waiter generously, owner or not, good service deserved it. Ditch the rest of brunch? Let's hit that farmer's market in town, then tour a downtown property I'm eyeing. Historic building, prime for mixed use, retail ground floor, apartments up top. Need my input? Sophie grinned. Your practical eye? Absolutely. Spotting flow issues, customer vibes, that's your superpower. Her smile radiated, tears a distant memory. Arm in arm, we exited into the sunny afternoon. Members whispered. Word spreading. The quiet mom owned it all. Let them gossip. Perceptions no longer chained me. For the record, Mom, Sophie said, you're incredible. CEO, cashier, whatever. Ditto, sweetheart. We drove off in my trusty Honda, toward horizons unbound.